In 2018, 27-year-old Kayana Davis fell victim to a scheme orchestrated by her co-worker, Laya Whitley. Kayana was set up to be robbed for her tax refund on the very day she received it. After completing her shift, she left her workplace and began her walk home. Laya alerted her boyfriend through a text message, leading to the tragic robbery and murder of Kayana. In 2013, Erica Negrelli suffered a seizure while pregnant and passed away on the way to hospital. Her daughter, Elena, was delivered via an emergency C-section. After the operation, Erica's heart miraculously started beating again. She was in a coma for 5 days before waking and making a recovery. In 2013, the Wall Street Journal discovered a cache of files that revealed that the U.S. government lobotomized over 2,000 veterans against their will after World War II. The veterans were lobotomized for reasons such as PTSD, depression, schizophrenia, and occasionally homosexuality. In 1996, a woman known as Mary Anderson checked into a Seattle hotel under a false name, then died by cyanide suicide. A cryptic note left behind, no known identity, and an open Bible on her chest make her case a haunting mystery. A nuclear bomb is stuck somewhere in the ice on the coast of Greenland. In 1968, a B-52 crashed, and its payload of 4 nuclear bombs was reported by the U.S. government as recovered and destroyed. In 2008, the BBC reported that one of the bombs were never recovered. In 2012, 2-year-old Kelvin Santos was mistakenly declared dead and placed in a coffin. Shockingly, he sat up and asked for water at his own funeral. His father, Antonio Santos, thought it was a miracle, but rushed him to the hospital, where doctors confirmed he was indeed deceased. On Christmas morning in 1945, a fire at the Sauter family home left 5 kids missing, presumed dead. No bodies were found, which sparked a mysterious enigma. Strange phone calls and roof noises haunted their mother's suspicions. The Sauter children's fate remains a baffling unsolved mystery. In 2000, 4-year-old Lauren Key died falling from a cliff during an outing with her father, Cameron Brown. He was convicted in 2009 of murder and manslaughter. Shockingly, it emerged he had thrown her off the cliff to avoid paying child support. A co-worker's testimony, along with a chilling text from Brown, unveiled the sinister truth. Judy Melinek is a medical examiner who identified hundreds of bodies from the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks, many of which were merely scraps of flesh or pieces of the limb. She was called in mid-August 2002 because they had found a foot bone on top of another skyscraper 1/5 of a mile away. In 1988, 2-year-old Michelle Funk survived a 66-minute underwater ordeal after falling into a creek. She was without a pulse when found, but after hours of gradual warming, her blood temperature reached 77 degrees Fahrenheit, leading to a miraculous recovery against all odds. This is one of the last photos taken of Ernest Hemingway. He took his own life on July 2, 1961. Following the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, looters, scavengers, and even surviving soldiers began pulling the teeth from lifeless soldiers left on the battlefield. They'd sort them into sets and sell them to dentists who would boil them, cut off their roots, and shape them into dentures. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. A new homeowner was shocked to find a rag doll boarded up in a wall cavity, clutching a note saying she killed a family. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, we still don't know where that signal came from. During the early 1990s, a serial killer named Joseph Metheny owned a burger stand located in Baltimore, Maryland. After his arrest in 1996, he confessed to feeding his customers the flesh of at least 3 humans he had murdered. More than 80% of our oceans remain a mystery. We know more about the dark side of the moon than we do about our own oceans. There are more Panda Express locations in the world than actual panda bears. In 1969, John Lennon and Yoko Ono consulted an astrologer who predicted John's death would occur on an island. Deeply disturbed by this prediction, they canceled their planned Greek Isles vacation. Just over 10 years later, John was shot and killed on Manhattan Island. Yoko Ono had previously shared their eerie experience, mentioning in a 2000 interview that they hadn't considered Manhattan as an island in that prophetic context. In 2005, a man who attempted to end his own life changed his mind at the last minute, resulting in a chain reaction train wreck that claimed the lives of 11 people. 177 people were also injured. He was later sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences. This picture shows some young people from Somalia who are saying things against America. They are sitting on a broken American helicopter. A long time ago, on October 3, 1993, an American mission to stop a warlord in Mogadishu didn't work. Sadly, 18 American soldiers and more than 350 Somalis, even people who weren't fighting, lost their lives. The guy in this photo is Ali Khan Samsudeen, a famous snake charmer who regularly performed stunts with cobras. He is most known for locking himself in a room with 400 cobras for 40 days, something most people would consider their worst nightmare. Sadly, after years of doing this, one cobra decided it had enough of the Snake King and bit him fatally back in 2006. In 2002, 13-year-old hockey enthusiast Brittany Cecil was seated in the stands, engrossed in a hockey game. A player deflected the puck, sending it over the glass behind the net and tragically striking her in the temple, resulting in a fractured skull. Brittany passed away just 2 days before her 14th birthday. Former Dr. Anthony Garcia sought revenge for his firing by killing 4 people in Omaha. His victims included an 11-year-old and those connected to his dismissal. After years of investigation, his capture came in 2013 when parallels were found with the deaths of a husband and wife on Mother's Day. Garcia was convicted in 2016, receiving a death sentence and residing on death row in Nebraska. In 2013, 5-year-old Jocelyn Rojas was abducted from her front yard by a man in a car who lured her with ice cream. Fortunately, 15-year-old Timar Boggs and his friend witnessed the incident and decided to take action. They quickly grabbed their bikes and chased after the car. For 15 minutes, the teenagers pursued the car until the kidnapper realized he had been noticed. He pushed the girl out of the car and fled the scene. Thanks to the bravery of the 2 boys, the little girl was rescued. Without their intervention, her fate might have been very different. The children of Lulaylako are a trio of Inca child mummies, believed to have been sacrificed in a religious ritual around the year 1500. In this ritual, the children were given coca and alcohol before being placed inside a small chamber buried 5 feet underground, where they met their tragic end. The mummies were discovered on the 16th of March, 1999, by Johann Reinhard and his archaeological team near the summit of Lulaylako, a stratovolcano on the Argentina-Chile border. They are considered as being among the best preserved mummies in the world. A decades-old horror resurfaced as 5-year-old Kenyatta Keki Odom's remains were identified in a small Georgia town. Her mother and stepfather have been charged with murder. The arrests were made after a tip connected Keki to the town of Albany in Georgia. The shocking details unfolded in a tragic 30-year-old case. During a photo shoot, this model in New York City was distracted by the first plane that hit the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. World War I bombs are turning up in big numbers due to heavy rainfall in Belgium. They can still explode over 100 years later. In 2018, silicone breast implants saved a woman from a bullet fired at close range in Canada. Doctors noted that the implant deflected the bullet's trajectory, thereby saving the woman's life. Her only injuries were a fractured rib. There was no harm to her vital organs. In the 1930s, scientists Winthrop and Luella Kellogg raised a chimpanzee, Gua, alongside their human child, Donald, for 9 months. Gua quickly learned human behaviors but couldn't speak. The experiment ended when Donald started mimicking Gua, adopting chimp-like behavior. In 1984, a woman started hearing a voice in her head telling her she had a brain tumor. Despite no other symptoms, doctors ordered tests and indeed found a tumor where the voice said it would be. As a child, Iqbal Masih was sold into bonded labor for less than $15 and was forced to work 12-hour days, 7 days a week, for pennies. At age 10, he escaped the carpet factory where he worked, and then he helped free 3,000 children from slavery. He went on to tour various cities in Pakistan so he could raise awareness about child bonded labor. He was assassinated at age 12 for speaking out. At only 2 years old, Christine Hansen became the youngest casualty of the 9/11 attacks. Accompanied by her parents, Sue and Peter Hansen, Christine was traveling aboard United Airlines Flight 175. The family was en route to California for a vacation, intending to visit Disneyland as part of their trip. Their flight was seized by hijackers and crashed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center.